Many German soldiers who took innocent lives in the Holocaust had no mental health problems and knew what they were doing was wrong. Can psychology explain this? Psychologist Stanley Milgram devised an experiment to see how far people would go in obeying authority, even against their morals. Each round involves two subjects, a teacher and a learner. But the randomization process of who would be which is rigged. The learner is always an actor in on the study. The teacher is always the real subject, who believes the experiment is to study memory. As the teacher, the real subject sits in one room with an electrical shock machine, a microphone, and a professional-looking experimenter overseeing it all. As the learner, the actor sits in another room supposedly hooked up to a shock generator. The teacher relays a series of word phrases through a microphone to the learner, whose task is to remember and repeat them back correctly. Each time the learner makes a mistake, the teacher administers an increasingly higher shock. Shocks range from 15 volts, titled slight shock, to 450 volts, titled danger, severe shock. Of course, the fake learner doesn't really get shocked, but in the mind of the true subject, this is really happening. At 75 volts, a scream follows. At 150 volts, the learner yells,
"I told you I had heart trouble. My heart's starting to bother me now. Get me out of here, please.
Continue.
My heart's starting to bother me. All right, what's going on? Let me out."
The upset subject often implores the experimenter.
I think we ought to check on him. We don't know what's happening until we check. We ought to check.
The experiment requires that you continue teaching.
Okay.
No threat or punishment, just a firm statement. But even with so little at risk for stopping the study, the experiment normally goes on. After 330 volts, the learner falls silent. But at the experimenter's prompting, the study often still goes on. After many rounds of this study with different subjects, a stunning 80% of subjects continued to shock even after the screaming and silence. Though many do protest,
How can I keep going after hearing no answer?
It's absolutely essential that you continue.
62% of subjects go on to administer the highest possible shock. No matter the subject's profession and education level, results remain consistent. Repeats of the study in later years get the same results. But some variations do lower these numbers. When a second experimenter in the room disagreed with the order to go on,
The experiment requires that you continue teaching.
"Sir, are you sure about this?" When the experimenter did not wear a lab coat that indicated authority, and when the experimenter communicated via phone or pre-recorded tape. Sometimes evil happens, not because all involved are evil, but because enough involved obeyed authority blindly at the expense of their morals.